Welcome to the SMB Community Podcast with your hosts, Amy Babinchek, James Kernan, Amy Luby, and Carl Polachuk. Produced by and for the Small Biz Thoughts technology community. We're dedicated to making every IT professional a successful IT professional. Welcome, everybody, to another SMB Community Podcast. This is Carl, and I'm joined today by both Amy and James. Welcome, welcome. So, all right. So, what are you guys up to? I know I'm enjoying the warm weather. It finally got hot in Sacramento. We don't usually get cool weather in July, but it's been in the 90s, and so it's finally getting up closer to 100.
Well, I'm getting ready to go on a big sailing vacation for a couple of weeks. So
All right.
that will be, look forward to that.
Which lake?
Lake Huron. So I'll be over on the Canadian side up in northern Georgian Bay, North Channel, sort of Canadian cottage country / wilderness. And
do they have boats keeping you from going ashore in Canada?
No.
Just
no, not anymore. They were quite serious about it during their COVID thing, and they remained serious about it for about 2 more years than the United States did, but they're over it now. So,
James, what are you up to after all that?
I am busy. So I think I have 5 EOS implementations all going on at the same time. Wow. So that is keeping me really busy and getting ready and kind of gearing up and trying to massage my calendar for August 1, 2, 3. I'll be in Las Vegas at CompTIA. And so looking forward to that. That's coming right around the corner. And then just this week, for another community, I've got a leadership class that I'm working on. So kind of launched a lot of things here in July. So it's been busy.
Excellent. Well, I will be at CompTIA. I'm hoping to have a big, not quite a family reunion, but pretty close to it. Richard Tubb, Eric Simpson, Eric's entire team, and my entire team. So there might be alcohol involved. So
sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Just saying. So, all right. So our question of the week, Amy spotted this one. So, Amy, you want to do the setup here?
Sure. So a person starting into this business has been going along doing break fix work and says, hey, I've decided to make a real business out of myself, and I'm going to move to becoming an MSP. So he's been doing a lot of research about how other people run their contracts and what stack they have and all those good things. And then he says, but what do I do about, I have these clients that have 3 PCs and they don't need a whole lot. What do I do with them? So that is our question of the day. Why don't one of you guys start? What do you think? What should you do?
Well, so we grew our business by realizing that there's a certain amount of overhead for having every client. Every client will take a certain number of hours of your labor, whether you like it or not. There is overhead. And so we moved up to a 5-user minimum and eventually a 10-user minimum. And it was when we discovered the cloud bundle that we were then able to go back down and sell those 1, 2, 3 user clients. So I think if you have a bundle of services at a reasonable price, then you sell the bundle to the user, a 5-user bundle. And if they only have 3 people, it's totally fine. The price is so reasonable that they won't bat an eye at it. And so today that bundle is probably $399 for the bundle and $399 for the managed services. So you get about $800 a month, and it's not horrible, and they get good service, and everybody's happy.
Well, there are 2 things that come to mind. Small clients. I'm going to assume that he's all T&M, right? Because he doesn't have any contractual clients. And as you're trying to build things out, I'm more of a fan of creating the bundle, like Carl said, but regardless if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot of people have, I'm not going to support anybody smaller than 5 seats. I would go after that business. And again, as long as it's a reasonable price, I would get that business and then take a look at profitability, as you move forward. But there's a campaign, because I'm asked this question a lot, hey, I'm moving from T&M and I want to move into managed services, get people signed up on a subscription. How do I do that? And most of the times, if somebody is old school, still doing T&M, they also haven't raised their prices in a long time. So I'm going to make that assumption. But there's a campaign that I call the good news, bad news, great news. The bad news is you send an email out. It's a 3-step email campaign where hey, I got bad news. We're going to raise our prices. We haven't raised our prices in 5 years. That's the bad news. The good news is I'll keep your hourly rate for projects the same if you convert over to to a subscription where we can load our tools and manage your network, and that's where you kind of connect them to that subscription. And and then basically you convert it into, that's the great news, that you'll keep their rate the same for projects, but they now have the service available to them. And I would go after the 1, 2, 3 clients. I would onboard them, maybe charge a little bit more per seat than what you normally would, but I'd try to get that revenue so you can move forward.
So I think I have a slightly different take. I love small clients. I just love these people. They're the best referral source that you will ever have.
Yeah.
These small companies are typically in the professional services industry. So they're consultants, they're coaches, they're trainers, they're people with massive amounts of connections. And so what I did is I actually created a quarterly plan rather than our standard plan that's monthly. We shifted it to quarterly because one of the things you can't afford to do with super small customers is have a lot of overhead. So our overhead for billing, and that only happens once a quarter. And then what we said is, all right, we're going to visit with you once a quarter rather than once a month as we do with our other clients. And we're, do sort of a catch-up thing, right? At that point, we're going to make sure all your updates applied and check your backup and blah, blah, blah. We're only going to do that once a quarter for those smaller clients rather than every month. That allowed us to, adjust how much time we're spending with them. But the main thing that they're interested in is, well, today they're interested in being secure because that's everyone's number one concern. But they're also want to make sure that they have someone that they can trust to call because they've identified that technology is really important to their business. Okay, once a quarter, we're going to do our managed services stuff for you. And that comes at a fixed fee. And then anytime you want to, you can call us and here's your rate for that, right? So it's been extremely profitable. If I look at the percentage profit across different clients rather than their revenue, those small clients are the most profitable ones we have. They're small revenue numbers, but they're high profit numbers. So you can make it work. I say go for it.
Everybody has to be successful in their own way. So, I started with small clients, but my experience was, and this may be just the difference where I live, small clients tend to be far more needy. And the amount of neediness per desktop supported is significantly higher in small clients than it is in larger clients. So for us, everybody talks about the sweet spot. For us, we found the sweet spot to be people who were above 5 and probably below 15 and were dependent on technology. And I rarely found that in one-person companies. I will say, we did have when we went to the bundles, we had 2 people who were one-person companies buy the 5-pack and loved it because it was, again, it was a reasonable amount of money for what they were getting. And we had 2 companies that were 3 people each buy the 5-pack. And so it allowed us to serve those clients and maintain profitability. So it's, again, your mileage may vary and probably will.
Right.
By now you've heard of the National Society of IT Service Providers, but why should you join? The NSITSP is committed to transforming our industry into a profession. They've established an industry-wide code of ethics and are working to improve the reputation of IT consultants nationwide. Wherever anybody is talking about IT consultants, NSITSP wants a seat at the table. That includes the media, government regulators, and the general public. Take pride in your industry and show off your membership. Join us today at NSITSP.com. It's time for 5 minutes with somebody smart.
Here with a good dear friend of mine, Dr. Lance Reichenberger. Hey, Lance, how you doing today?
Hey, pretty well, James. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
I wanted to ask, do you feel leaders are born or do you feel that they're created?
Leaders, and as I've mentioned in different things that I do, that there's many different mindsets that some scholars, Warren Bennis from SC believes that leaders are born.
Yeah.
I sat under him and disagreed with him because I don't think I was born a leader.
Mhm.
I personally developed into a leader, as well as other people seeing things in you and putting you in positions as you grow, right? And because sometimes sometimes people don't have the confidence to think that I can be a leader. But say the person you report to in a company, they're starting to give you more functions, more roles, more duties, and they see something that yourself can't introspectively see, and they put you in these roles, and it's like, oh my goodness, I can grow. This is not as bad. I think I can actually do this. That type of leader, to develop another leader, is required in those kind of introverted workers, right? That they may not be as confident. And that right there shows me, as well as in my research, that leaders are developed, leaders are built. And because there's charismatic leaders, like, I think are born. That's a whole super subset of leadership. And one amazing couple leaders that are charismatic leaders in the presidential leader realm, I would go with John F. Kennedy and Bill Clinton. Those guys are amazingly charismatic. And even in the old age, meeting Clinton and having an opportunity to sit and talk with him while he was a speaker at Loyola Marymount. And my dad had the privilege of kind of carting him around, so I kind of tagged onto that because I wanted to meet him. And I look at Clinton and the president, they're 2 different offices, right? But his charisma, no matter what he did personally, his charisma in how he got elected, and same with Kennedy. I mean, they have this built-in just smile, this face. Because I was just reading something and doing some research. I think it's about 10% of actually what you say versus the other 80% mixed up between how you look and your expressions, and how you dress. It's kind of all built together, right? Is what builds charisma. And some people have it, some people don't. And but the development is so important, because and the key to, I think, leadership development is you're always learning, right? I mean, entrepreneurs, leaders always are learning. I read about 4 or 5 books a week, whether it's read or listened. I mean, I complete 4 or 5 a week. And I know that's crazy, but leaders have to read and have to self-develop, as if they want to get further in their leadership or become a leader. What books like 1 Minute Manager, that's a great start. See what it's like, and then just move on to different bigger and greater books. But I think by far, and in education, there's a lot of educators, there's a lot of coaches like you. And what I do on the different side for, there's different sides of that to develop leaders and develop businesses and how to change people's lives, really. So,
Yeah. All right. Great job. Hey, congratulations on your accomplishments and getting through that program, and look forward to chatting with you soon.
thank you, James. Take care and have a great day today.
So in the news, I want to talk about, recession and Microsoft, but Amy wants to talk about the cage match.
Yeah, I love talking about cage fights. I think that is totally absurd. Of course, we are talking about the people of the decade, Zuckerberg and Musk. And Musk, for some reason I don't recall, challenged Zuckerberg to a cage match, and apparently was quite serious about it. And Zuckerberg said, okay, name the place and time. And so they're both now posting pictures of themselves working out. And I mean, it is, other than not having dueling pistols, it's literally a duel. And it will serve no purpose other than bet makers in Vegas will make a bunch of money. And I expect both of them will be embarrassed in some way of being in a cage match. I find the whole thing extremely childish. I don't know.
I would agree that it is 100% childish. It is a reminder that no matter how big businesses get, it's all about personality. And these two people don't like each other and whatever. I won't be watching it or putting any money on it. It will feed the memes. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I think Facebook wins because there will be more memes on Facebook than there will be on Twitter. And so as a result, Zuckerberg will win in the long run.
Yeah, I did respect both individuals as successful business owners and disruptors in the industry, but it's unfortunate to see two smart men do something so stupid and childish. So I agree with everybody. I have no desire to watch it, and it just feels like it's a publicity stunt, an opportunity for these guys to have pictures taken with their shirts off. So,
and you mentioned the word men. I do have to say, my daughter made it really clear to me that she's making no effort to get into this industry because of things like this. And, this wasn't a thing 10 years ago, but to her, this industry is an entire bro culture in which women watch men do stupid stuff, and they just don't feel like that they are welcome. Like if they walked in the room, she went to the one company for a while. They used to do all these things. There's a road here called Black Rock Road. So they had the Black Rock Games, and they literally were like racing tricycles and eating worms and all this kind of stuff. And there was nothing about it that made her feel like she was welcome in that company.
yeah.
So,
yeah.
This is just another element of that.
Yeah, we know empirically that this is a problem in our industry, and you're right. Here's yet another example of it.
What do you guys think? Do you think it's really going to happen? Do you think it's they'll settle it separately or over Twitter or Facebook or through the media, or do you think they'll actually really will drop the gloves and fight?
I
Do you really
they're
think
actually going to do it? All indications are that it's actually going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, given the background of both of these two individuals, I think they would be embarrassed to back out at this point. So,
yeah, I'll have a bad prediction that it won't go down, and there'll be some clever excuse so they don't both look like complete idiots. But Anyway, you could tell how disinterested I am. I'm not even following it, and have no desire.
I'm going to Vegas, and since there's no Gonzaga basketball to bet on, I will not be tempted to go and bet on this as a substitute.
Exactly.
But it's also the case. We see these battles between Microsoft and Apple and Adobe, and very often it comes down to if the executives don't like each other, they don't make a deal. So we've seen it in the SMB space with companies who two companies in particular I won't name, but they both went from being startups to being billion-dollar corporations in the last 20 years, and their ownership basically took every opportunity to go after the others, and it's just it is childishness that does not go away no matter how big the company gets.
Yeah.
No, I mean, think about back in the day, Steve Ballmer was famous for his childish acts.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
He set up a guillotine on Microsoft's campus to chop off the head of Novell. I mean, it's our industry has a reputation problem, and our CEOs of our major corporations do not help at all.
True.
It's
One
really
time I was at Worldwide Partner Conference, and Vlad Mazik and I got sat, I think we're probably in the second or third row, and we were like, are we out of the distance of how far Ballmer can throw a chair? It was an actual consideration at the Worldwide Partner Conference, right?
That's
yeah,
funny.
absolutely. Yeah.
Azure AD, which basically has captured a massive 10% of the market, is changing their name, and I don't know if it's to get new subscribers. The enterprise has basically said, that we have absolutely no interest in adopting this technology.
No, you're 100% wrong about that, Carl. Azure Active Directory is the largest directory in the world. It is absolutely enormous and hugely successful.
Well, how come the tech reporters don't know that?
This is dumb. Like everything you do in Microsoft today uses Azure Active Directory. If you have a subscription to any online service from Microsoft, from many third parties, including Comcast and others, you have an Azure Active Directory account. They do billions of logins a day.
But that's it as background technology, not as people choosing to adopt it and say that will be our logon system as we go to the cloud.
They will have no.
That's sort of like saying I use ASCII based technology because every version of Windows has a command prompt. It's just just because you use some background technology doesn't mean that you have actively chosen it.
But what it does mean is that it is so standardized and ubiquitous that you no longer need to even know, because it just is the only directory solution that is out there today. It is the thing.
Okta would certainly disagree with you on that. But when enterprise says, what is our universal logon for our systems, it is not Microsoft Azure AD. I mean, it's included for free, so yes, I get it, but that's also like saying that everybody on Earth uses Edge. You only use Edge so that you can download Chrome.
You're wrong. I don't know what to say, Carl. You're wrong.
All right, you two get out of the cage. No cage match today.
Speaking of cage matches.
Yeah.
Yes, cage matches. So my question is, why did they change the name? Did you guys see that?
Yeah. Microsoft has been rebranding everything in Azure, and this is the partial source of my disappointment with Satya. He has just let the marketing department run wild over there, and they're making branding decisions that seem to be just for the sake of branding and no substantive purpose.
Yeah.
It's everybody is frustrated with it. We have things now called purview instead of compliance. We now have purview instead of Active Directory, which has, you know, a 30-year history of success. We now have Entra. You know, it's like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I saw the headline and they changed it from Azure Active Directory to something, and it made no sense to me. And it was like, next, another example of Microsoft just making things more confusing for their partners.
And the confusing part will be is that, of course, it wasn't in the general marketing announcement, but to make things easier for everyone, they are not changing the naming under the hood. So if you need to write a script or something, it's still Azure Active Directory, which means the name change will never ever stick because it's only on the marketing page. When you actually go to use the thing, it's still Active Directory.
Yeah, just more confusing. And I heard there's layoffs this week as well with Microsoft. So they laying off, part of their staff, part of their support staff. So there's another big round of layoffs. And then they also are managing less clients, so less partners as well. So big changes at Microsoft besides the branding.
Well, they clearly are moving to a company that does not rely on customer service, right? The theory is if the software is good enough, then you can ignore customer service and you don't need the personal side of things. So that being the case, I think it's a great opportunity for everybody who still continues to focus on the personal side of things, right? Microsoft is offering managed services for, I can't remember what it is now, $10 a month or $5 a month. Pardon me?
$5 a month.
So, they want to compete with you, but if you ask your client, okay, great. Do you want to call Microsoft or you want to call me? Your client is not going to choose Microsoft.
Yeah, exactly. I remember years back when they outsourced the partner help desk, and you'd call in and you'd get pushed overseas, and I couldn't understand anybody on the phone. And then the big joke was every time you would call as a Microsoft partner, you get a hold of a human being finally. Each person that you asked the same question, you'd get different answers. So that was always frustrating as well.
One time in the days of Small Business Server, getting connected to somebody at Microsoft's support desk back in the day when they moved away from Texas. And this person said, well, let me look in. And they looked and they said, oh, well, there's something wrong with your Active Directory. You don't have any users. And I was like, oh my God, you've never actually seen a small business server before, have you? They weren't where he expected them to be because he came from the server side. And I thought it would be the same thing. The other thing is with regard to, changes going forward, Microsoft multi-factor authentication. Amy may argue with this, but the stats say 22% adoption so far. So most people are not using Microsoft MFA. Will that go up just because they will keep pushing it until you don't have any choice, or will people actually choose to use it?
I don't think this is a Microsoft question. That the statistic is for all of MFA. Like Microsoft's been pushing it hard. So they have their numbers, but it's true of all MFA. For some people are very reluctant to adopt multi-factor authentication, and yet it is shown that it will protect you from 99% of everything that's out there by just taking that one small step. And I hope that it is just people that don't have relationships with IT professionals that are still in that situation. where they're putting themselves, their businesses, their livelihoods at risk for the lack of typing in a code. It just really doesn't make any sense.
Final note, I just want to touch on this and then we'll be done for the day. The report came out last week. Inflation is, if you round it up, it's 0.2%. So for the last report, which means we'll probably get another rate increase from the Federal Reserve, and then we'll see what happens for the rest of the year. But it may be that long-awaited recession just is never going to happen. So I hope that nobody's disappointed about that.
Oh, shucks, darn.
The only people that will be disappointed are the ones that are waiting for their day to be proven right. They're going to have to wait a few more years.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there will be a recession.
There will be a recession, and that will allow them to say, see, I predicted the recession.
Right. I've been telling you for 5 years that there would be a recession.
There will be a recession. There's going to be, everything points to it. Can't you see what I can see? And then, yeah, it's a long-term game they're playing, but there's no recession coming tomorrow.
Well, the other bit of good news is that the cost of airline flights has gone down for the first time in about 8 months. So that's not a bad deal.
Thank goodness.
All right. With that, I think we're done for the week. Please like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends, and we will see you next week on the SMB Community Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the SMB Community Podcast. If you found this useful, interesting, or fun, please subscribe, share with your friends, and give us a thumbs up on your favorite social media. Please check out the show notes at smbcommunitypodcast.com and give us your feedback.